What's up guys, this is Darkbblue, a gamer who loves Souls-like games, looter games, and every game that involves build making. Assembly is a very important part of Armored Core 6, but it's also much complicated, especially for beginners. However, I myself as a beginner has managed to teach it to myself, and it's time to teach it to you as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's dive right into it. Before everything starts, let me tell you two important tricks. First, don't just look at the simplified park specs here, look at full specs. Then, if you want to know what a stat actually means, just use the helping function. Then, a general outline of assembly. I divide it into 3 levels. First, and the easiest, parts that directly define a mech's combat style, including weapons and legs. Next, capacity that must not be exceeded. And finally, detail stat that is already beyond the concern of beginners. Since the first level is strongly related to combat strategies, I won't talk about it in this video. Let's directly move to the second one, capacity. There are 3 types of capacity: total load, arm load, and EN load. Total load is essentially weight. Its capacity is determined by leg part, and the total weight is accumulated with each part you use. Arm capacity is determined by arm part, and the total load is only related with the 2 hand weapons. Then EN load will be a bit more complicated. To start with, generator provides a basic EN output, but it's not the actual EN output you have, since the EN output adjustment state on body part will serve as a multiplier to it. That is to say, the body part both adjusts the total EN output and consumes some of it with its own EN load. So when assembling a mech, I always have to spend a long time balancing between total load and EN load. Then let's move to the final level, basic stat. You will move beyond beginners once you have understood it. So again, I divide basic stat into 3 types. The first type of stat is shown both in part specs and in the mech status on the right side of the UI, such as total AP and defenses. This is the simplest part, as you can just look at mech stat and see if they go up or down. The second type is only shown in part specs, making them hidden from many players. However, they can be very important. For example, there is a melee specialization stat on arm part, which modifies your melee attack, and there is a melee thrust speed stat on booster part. With that being said, now you can see it's wise to look into part specs instead of only looking at mech stat. But don't worry, after spending some time building mechs yourself, you will get familiar with this hidden stat. The last type of stat is those that are only shown in mech stat but not in part specs. They are only indirectly influenced by some stat in part specs and therefore are hard to understand at first. So the first thing is boost performance, such as basic boost speed, QB cooldown, and so on. The booster part will provide some basic stat. Then the body part will provide some adjustment stat. And finally, they are influenced by the total load. The heavier a mech is, the worse boost performance it has. Similarly, EN performance is determined by generator's basic stat, body's adjustment, and the total EN load you have. More EN load leads to worse EN performance. Since both boost performance and EN performance share similar rules, it shouldn't be hard to understand, but beginners might focus more on weights and overlook EN load, which at least is what I have done. So I want to remind you here that both 2 loads are important. So that's all about assembly basic knowledge. Next, I want to share my Euro assembly methodology. So usually I start with what combat style I want to use with this mech. This helps me decide weapons, and weapons help me decide FCS according to the Euro distance of enemies. Weapons also help me decide arm part, mainly based on firearm and melee specialization. And in the end, combat style also helps me decide what type of leg I want. Then it's time to adjust detail stat and try to balance capacity. Well, it's a troublesome procedure. But here is my advice to make it easier. Just consider what stat you want most and sacrifice other stat to stack it. For example, if I want to have higher basic boost speed, I can accept lower QB performance. In this way, your mech will have more unique advantages over others. So that's my understanding of assembly. I'm also a beginner, having taught myself how to assemble with the help of in-game helping function. So I hope this video can be comprehensible for other beginners as well. If you like my story and if you want to join me into depth of games, just like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, see you around.